Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to my IVF Answers and the European Fertility Society. We are back once again, and today we will talk about add-ons in fertility treatment. And we have our special guest with us. You see him right here. Dr. Tomáš Rieger is right with us.
Hello.
Hello, Tomáš. Lovely to have you back. We already talked about it. I think it was more than 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Last time we talked, and you had a chance to join us. I'm really happy and excited to have you back. Those were difficult times. It was still the COVID-19 pandemic. I remember this very well, and we had a chance to have you here. And today we will talk about this topic as well, actually. So thank you so much for joining. I hope
You're
you
welcome.
are feeling well and are ready to discuss it and of course explain
Yeah.
everything and of course
Yeah.
answer
Yeah.
questions.
I'm ready. I will do small presentation, and then there will be space for questions, of course.
Brilliant. Let me just remind everyone who hasn't had a chance to simply be with us before that Tomáš is the head embryologist at GYNEM Fertility Clinic located in Prague in Czech Republic, and he is back, as I've mentioned, after more than 3 years, so we are definitely excited to have you. And as he already mentioned, we will start with his presentation, and afterwards there will be time for your questions. As always, let me remind everyone that this is a safe space, anonymous, so you can type the questions in the chat and then Tomáš will happily, I'm sure, answer them for you.
If I
Just
can.
please remember that Tomáš is the embryologist, so if you have any questions that are more dedicated for gynecologists or fertility specialists, we will be able to simply forward those questions. But obviously, in that way, it's better to leave those questions to our fertility experts rather than Tomáš in this case, right? So, any questions on embryology? I'm sure Tomáš will be happy to take them. So. And let's go ahead with our presentation. And remember, you can type the questions in the chat right now during the presentation or afterwards as well. All right, let's go ahead.
Okay. So welcome again. So I will repeat it. My name is Tomáš Rieger. I am a head embryologist in a GYNEM clinic in Prague, Czech Republic, which is beautiful location for for me. And so the topic of this talk is about the special laboratory techniques and GYNEM clinic, but we usually use like the same state of art add-ons that are used worldwide. We have quite pleasant law in Czech Republic that we are not like pushed that somewhere where we can't do everything. We can do pretty much all techniques which can be done, which are CE marked. If there is some like use of some mediums or whatever, it has to be of course everything really safe and secure for the patients and for the cells. But the portfolio of the techniques are quite wide. So I will begin. Just like I will go through the presentation, we will see how long it will take me. So like normal IVF comes that we need cells from both, of course, both sexes, like from male and female. What we need is the sperm from the male and the oocytes from the female, and then we are doing majority of our cycles are doing with ICSI fertilization. I will speak about it a little bit later. And if everything goes fine after cultivations of the embryos, we are happy to perform embryo transfers. But before all this, it is important to use the optimal cells, germinal cells, which means sperms and oocytes, in the time of oocyte pickup. What is like how people work, how humans works, is that woman has after some stimulation, hormonal stimulation, if everything is fine, we can get like, let's say 10 to 15 oocytes. It can be a little bit more, but then there is risk of these hyperovarian syndromes, hyperstimulated, and the quality of the oocytes are not as good as if we have this optimal count between these 10, 15. Sometimes, of course, even if we try more protocols and more possibilities, we are not able to get more than, let's say, 5 oocytes, 3, 4, 5 oocytes from the patients. And how it goes with the women is that we don't select something in oocytes. We always work with every major oocytes we can get, because that's how it is. Ladies has only a few oocytes, and majority of them looks good and are mature. There are some difficulties, but we'll speak about it later. And on the other hand, we have the males who has millions of sperm, different evolutionary strategy, millions of germinal cells in one, like flush in one take, and we need just one sperm for one oocyte. So there is many space for selection of which sperm should be used for this fertilization. So because when we get, let's say, only 2 oocytes in the oocyte pickup, and we have 10 millions of sperm from the male side, we need to be not sure, but we have to do maximal we can to select 2 best sperms from this whole batch. And what are current possibilities to do with to how we can pre-select the sperm is these like 4 methods which are stated here in the lower of this picture. It is this MSS, which is microfluidic sperm sorting system. This is the short in microfluidic sperm sorting. There is this MAX, which is magnetic associated cell sorting, which is selecting the cells because of some connexin related thing. I will explain it later. And this is all these methods. These 2 methods can be done when we have these millions of sperm. Of course, sometimes happens that on the male side there is much lower counts, and sometimes we have only, let's say, tens, hundreds, thousands sperms. And with this count, both these techniques cannot be used because they are focused and they are manufactured for larger volumes of sperm. With these lower counts, we can use these 2 methods, Pixie and IMSI. One is focused, Pixie is focused on the maturity, and IMSI is focused on the morphology. I will talk about them later. What is quite good to know, last years, there were some nice studies which show that centrifugation, which was quite common process in preparing the sperm for the fertilization in IVF labs, brings more oxidative stress and therefore more fragmentation of DNA in the sperms. So now our daily routine is that we are just cancel the centrifugation in all processes when we can cancel it. So we are using it only in intrauterine insemination or in cryopreservation, where we really need to divide the sperms from the different parts of the ejaculate. But in normal preparation of the sperm for fertilization, we are not standardly using centrifugation, and this is recommendation for like all IVF centers worldwide, that the centrifugation is something which was used before, but now it's not really recommended. And so this like basic technique which we are doing to everyone is this primary swim up, which means that we are only covered the sperm sample with medium, special sperm medium, which is rich on vitamins and all things which sperm needs to be living. And the sperms are just swim through this medium to the top layer. And this is like the basic method which we like can divide the motile from immotile sperm, because the immotile one just stays where they are, and the motile sperm only can swim through this medium. So this is like the basic, and then we can do these extra methods. So we can look on them closely. So first, I have here a slide about this MAX method, which is this magnetic sperm separation using these special columns. This thing which is on this picture here, you can imagine it like pretty like this big, like 3 centimeters small column, where we place the sperm. The sperm has to be incubated with this annexin. This is one protein which finds out that it can bind to the sperm when they have these phosphatidylserine on the cell membrane, and this is important. Body and its cells in our bodies have some ways how they can tell to the body that, hello, I am bad, destroy me. And in the body, there are these white cells going through the bodies, go through the veins, go through all places, and they are looking for these cells which are waving on the white cells, hello, hello, destroy me, I am bad cell. And because this can happen, every division of cell can happen with some bad variant, with some mutation, with some errors. And this is one way how the cells can say to the outer world, to the body, hey, it was some error made, and I shouldn't be here like this. And this phosphatidylserine is one of those ways how the sperm or any cells can show that they are somehow wrong. And because we know from other biological things that this phosphatidylserine is attachable to this annexin 5, this compound, this protein, we can incubate the sperm with this annexin 5. It will attach to all these sperms with this phosphatidylserine showed on the membrane, and then we put the sperm to this column when around this column is really strong magnet. And what is thing is in this magnet there are small metallic balls and in the column, and the sperm with this annexin 5, this annexin 5 is sensitive for magnetic field. So when it comes to some strong magnetic field, it attached to this metallic balls in this column, and those sperm stayed there because of this magnetic field, and they are not go through the column. So with this selection, we can divide from the sperm sample only the sperms which are not showing phosphatidylserine on their head, on their cell membrane. So this is how this one works. It's quite scientific. It's good, but on the other hand, when I see and look at it from the daily routine point of view, we sometimes see that even those sperm which gets through, which means that they were not showing the phosphatidylserine on their head, sometimes those sperm are not as good as well. There is some part of the sperm which can go through and still are wrong, still have bad movement, bad shape, some two heads, two tails, some morphological irregularities which you don't want to have. So it's clear that not every cell which is somehow wrong expose this phosphatidylserine on its head. So this method is fine, but it has some imperfections. But this is like in everything as well, in biology especially, imperfections are everywhere. Next method is my favorite one. I believe the best one we can really offer. And when we have patients who has at least this 10 millions, as I told before, I always recommend this one method. It is because this method is focused on the movement, and from my point of view, from my daily routine, I can really say that sperm which are separated by these selection methods really has nice movement, nice quality, and the results with those sperm really are nice. And I believe that from our methods which we can offer, this one is the most reasonable and the best one. Detailed how it works. It developed some guys from MIT originally, then some other companies, and you can imagine this small chip. It looks like this, and you can imagine it as a maze where we put on one side the fresh sperm, And inside the maze, you can see these columns. And these columns have special size, special height, special distance between them, and you can see some mathematics behind it that these engineers counted how the columns should be far from each other, what should be their size and their height, and they find out some optimal arrangement, and then they are producing this thing. And it really works that only the sperm which can swim directly straight forward can go through the maze. The sperm, which are usually, because as I told before, in sperm we have like millions of sperm, and not every sperm goes just straight forward. Some of them are going to right, some of them are going to left. And when we see these sperm, it is like our guess that if there is some problem with motility of the sperm, it's because of some imperfections in building of the sperm. And if the sperm is built well, which means that it goes straight forward in their movement, they should hopefully be right inside as well regarding the DNA code and the quality of the DNA. And truly, with all studies shows that the sperm with A quality motility, they have the best implantation or like fertilization rates, blastocyst rate, implantation rates, and this factor of motility is really important. And to select the sperm with the best possible motility is a really important thing to in the before the fertilization in IVF. Some other studies shown that even the DNA fragmentation, which is a quite common thing in human sperm, and this is something which we don't want to use in fertilization, is that some sort of DNA, some sort of sperm, some part of sperm in ejaculate are always have always fragmented DNA in their head, and normal is around 40%. When the male goes for a special test and he sees that his DNA fragmentation is around 40%, it is fine. This is how it should be, not more. And sometimes happens that the guys has a worse result, and then using of this microfluidic sperm sorting system is much more reasonable, because some big studies shown that the sperm, when we put the 40% grade 40% quality sperm to the inlet of this microfluidic sperm system, and then when they counted the DNA fragmentation in the sperm which can go through the maze, they found out that in this final quality, final volume of sperm, only 20% of them has this DNA fragmentation, which means half of the first level, half of the original level. And it's not optimal, of course, it's not perfect. Still, 1 from 5 sperm can have this DNA fragmentation, but when you compare it with 2 from 5, this is big difference, of course. And when we are then choosing the sperm for the fertilization from those which could swim from through this maze, we are more sure or more hope that we are taking the sperm without this fragmented DNA. This fragmented DNA is, of course, something which influencing quality of the fertilization and future development. So this second possibility, the MSS chip, is from my side the best one. We will move to next one. Next one is one of those methods which can be used only for small amounts of sperm. This is called Pixie, and Pixie used for this pre-selection small drop of hyaluronic acid gel. You cannot see it on the picture. The dish looks really like this, and these, when there are these arrows, you can imagine that there are small free dots. They are like they are dried, but we are putting the medium on them, so they are then again waterized, or how to say it. And then the sperm are able, you can see the dot of this hyaluronic acid here on the microscope, and the sperm can attach to this hyaluronic acid. And this is something which is again from the body derived. The sperm, when it goes through the natural way during the sex, and then during the sperm goes through the womb to the uterus, to the fallopian tubes, and to the oocytes finally. the oocyte is covered with many other cells, granular cells, cumulus cells, and the space between those cells is filled by this hyaluronic acid. This hyaluronic acid, maybe you know this from some cosmetic things. It can like clean the face and do like the wrinkles, lower the wrinkles because of these. It's good chemical compound which can fill the space between cells. This is called extracellular matrix, and this extracellular matrix is mainly done in or made in the oocytes with this hyaluronic acid. And the sperm, evolutionary, they need to be able to attach to this cumulus oophorus, which is the cumulus around the oocyte, and they have to be able to dig through these cumular cells and through the zona pellucida and enter the oocyte and fertilize the oocyte. And we are using in this Pixie method this evolutionary thing that the sperm has evolutionary derived these small receptor on the head, which is sensitive to hyaluronic acid. And when the sperm is mature, ready to fertilize, it has this receptor on the head, and when it finds hyaluronic acid, it attaches to it because it thinks that this hyaluronic acid is around the oocyte, and the sperm starts some activation for the processes drilling through the zona pellucida and through the cumular cells. And this is for us, for embryologists, for IVF experts. This is for us information that when the sperm can attach to this hyaluronic acid, it means that the receptor on its head is functional, and then we know that, or again, we don't know, but we hope that if the sperm has functional receptor on its head, it should be hopefully good inside as well regarding the DNA quality again. So this is one thing how we can use this Pixie method, and you can see these small dots here. These are the individual sperm. You can see it inside, and those one which are attached to this surface is the ones who are mature, and then we are choosing sperm for fertilization from those attached ones. And last but not least, how it's called, procedure for pre-selection of the sperm used in GYNEM, but usually in worldwide IVF centers as well, is this IMSI procedure. This IMSI procedure is focused on morphology of the sperm. You can see what it means to do the IMSI procedure. This is how we see the size of the sperm in our standard focus and standard zoom in our standard IVF procedures. And when this is approximately 400 times larger than by naked eye. But what this IMSI procedure can do, it can maximize the magnification or zoom, higher the magnification of the zoom of the sperm for 8,000 times, which means that the sperm then you can see like this. And in this zooming, in this magnification, you really can see the quality of the morphology of the head and tail, neck and the tail. You can see this sperm is how it should look, normal sperm. This sperm is irregular in the shape. This sperm is irregular as well. There are some vacuoles inside, and so on. So with this IMSI procedure, this is for us like the last call where we can decide which sperm can be used from like those pre-selected ones, let's say, because all these methods can be combined. We can do, let's say, MAX or MSS chip, and the one sperm which goes through MAX or swim through the maze in the MSS chip, we can suck them out and put them on the Pixie, let's say, check if some of them attach to the hyaluronic acid. Then we choose those attached one and zoom them with the IMSI procedure, and that is how we can be sure that we selected good looking, good moving, mature head, no phosphatidylserine sperm. On the other hand, problem of all these pre-selection methods is that, and this is like the last slide about this, that we really don't see the DNA. And there is no method how we can see the DNA in living cell without destroying the cell. There are many methods how we can see the DNA. Of course, there are all these pgt-a testing, genetic screening, everything. But it's always done that we have to take the cell, destroy it, take the nucleus, unpack DNA, and check the DNA. And this is what we can do. But there is no method which can show us DNA in living cell without destroying the cell. And because of the sperms and oocytes, the information about the sperm or oocytes, if they were good or not, is for us not important if we will destroy the cells. We need the cell to be living, therefore used for the fertilization. And unfortunately, we don't have any method how we can see the DNA. So all these pre-selection methods take us no guarantees. This is what I have to mention here. There is no guarantees that the result will be better. It's always only hoping that if we do all these 4 ways or combination, we are usually combining 2 of these methods. We have in GYNEM this optimized laboratory package, and which includes 2 of these methods in price, and we are choosing which 2 methods regarding on the quality of the sperm, quality of oocytes, and history of the patients, which 2 methods can be like recommended to each couple. On the other hand, if couple wants, if of course there can be done all these 4 methods combined together if the sperm sample is in good quality for it. But in the end, after using all these four pre-selection methods, we cannot guarantee that the sperm will be right genetically. We only hope that if the sperm looks fine, moves fine, everything works fine, hopefully the DNA will be fine as well. On the other hand, as I told in the beginning, we don't do something, we don't select something from oocytes. We take all mature oocytes we can get. So only thing which we can select is on the sperm side. And these 4 methods are the only ones which are now possible in like last state of art scientific world. So we are using all of them, and hopefully in the future there will be some methods which can show us DNA without destroying the cells, and this will be great for IVF, and it will really push the IVF levels to next levels. But now we are in the state where we are, and we are doing maximum we can. And this maximizing the chances for these good blastocysts is always what we want to do in a lab. So next thing is just like quick talk about the ICSI procedure, because it's like as I told, 99% in GYNEM we are fertilizing 99% with ICSI procedures. It is because when you compare the IVF and ICSI procedure to fertilization, IVF stands for in vitro fertilization, which means that we only let's say a little bit clear the sperm sample, pre-select, let's say one method, but we need many hundreds of tens of thousands sperm for the IVF fertilization. So we just clear the sperm, put it together in a one dish, in one well of the dish with some special medium to the oocytes, and then we keep the sperm go to the oocytes in a natural way. And this is how it's done in a body. It works when the sperm are good quality, the oocyte has good quality, it works quite good. But in our clinic, and not just in our clinic, in all IVF clinics, people are going there because they have problem with this natural fertilization. And usually it's because there is some lower quality of oocyte or sperm or combined. And in this ICSI procedure is for us much more safer for our feeling that we did maximum we can. Because in ICSI procedures works that we choose only one sperm and inject the sperm inside the one oocyte, one sperm in each oocyte. In the normal IVF fertilization can happen that 2 or more sperms can enter the oocyte in one time. This happens sometimes, not often, but it happens. So these oocytes cannot be used for these embryos cannot be used for future development, or it happens that none sperm enter the oocyte, and there is only some small, let's say 6 hours, 8 hours of time when this oocyte can be fertilized. And if you pass this time, there is no way how the oocyte can be saved. So for us, doing the ICSI procedure is from our side the best, safer and best possibility to do the fertilization, and then of course do the cultivation and hopefully transfer. What are disadvantage of the ICSI procedure is that sometimes the individual oocytes can be more soft, somehow morphologically not optimal, and it can happen that because the ICSI procedure is like a really small needle, but small but still needle, and we have to really like put the hole in the oocyte. The cytoplasmatic membrane has this function that it can heal the hole which we make with this needle. But when the oocyte is not morphologically optimal or somehow qualitatively optimal, it can happen that after this puncturing of the with this ICSI needle, it cannot somehow fill the space between the after the needle in the cytoplasmatic membrane, and it starts collapsing, and sometimes happens that the oocyte is destroyed. But usually only the oocytes with some low quality are destroyed by the ICSI. It's in a manner of few percent from, let's say, 100% oocytes. When you are doing the ICSI, only, let's say, 4 or 5 oocytes can degenerate after the ICSI, and it's usually because worse quality of the oocyte. So you can take it that these oocytes, if they will be fertilized by another procedure, maybe they will not be able to develop in the good embryo at all, because their genetics wasn't good, and that's why their membrane, the cytoplasmatic membrane, wasn't strong enough to heal the puncture. So yeah, the ICSI procedure is something which I should recommend to all patients in a IVF treatment. So next time, what is important, and this is something about the maturity of the oocyte, is this spindle observation in polarized light. This is quite new method. It's maybe 2-3 years old method. When it came like in 2015, Zuzana Holubcová, which is a Czech embryologist, like Czech scientific embryologist, she demonstrated in a Cambridge study that aneuploidies in oocytes happens in time. With older women, there is a higher amount of aneuploid oocytes when they have these ovulations, these simulations. There is the number of oocytes with aneuploidies is growing with age. There is I can speak about why it is done, but this is for another lecture. But what is important for us, the take-home message from this study was that when the oocyte extrude first polar body, which is for us the sign of maturity, or sooner it was the sign of maturity for the embryologist when the oocyte has extruded the first polar body. But then Zuzana Holubcová finds that after the extrusion of this first polar body, it takes approximately 2 hours when the oocyte reaches the maturity inside the cytoplasm genetically. So when before this method, when we saw that some oocyte has this extruded polar body, we thought, okay, this is mature. We do the ICSI procedure, we put sperm into the oocyte, and the oocyte didn't fertilize. And we only thought that okay, it didn't work. Like as I told before, in the ICSI procedure, or I didn't tell it, I'm telling you now. In the ICSI procedure, we have approximately 85% fertilization rate with normal sperm and normal quality oocytes. So from 100 oocytes with the ICSI procedure done, 85 of them fertilized. And so if sooner, before this SOP, before these spindle observation techniques, when some oocytes didn't fertilize, we only tell to each other that, okay, so it was this one from these 15, it can happen. But now we know that we have to wait 2 hours more after the extruding of the polar body to hope that the oocyte is mature, and we can check this state of maturity in the oocyte by this polarized light. This polarized light can show us meiotic spindle, which is one feature in a oocyte, which has to be in some position against this first polar body. And we can see regarding on this position of this meiotic spindle, if the oocyte is mature, which means ready for fertilization, or in the phase of dividing the first polar body and not mature yet. So this method helps us to see that the oocyte is ready to be fertilized, and then we can do all this preselection of the sperm and put the sperm inside. Of course, it is like this method is more like saving method, which means that when patient has only, let's say, 1-2 oocytes, we are like maximizing the optimal time for fertilization, and etc. etc. When patient has 15 oocytes and 14 of them are mature, we do the fertilization of 14 of them 2 hours after the oocyte pickup, or let's say 3-4 hours, to be sure that these 2 hours time before the extrusion polar body and this maturity stage was waited, and then we do the fertilization, and then we check if the 15th oocyte reached maturity during the day. But if not, we are not like pushing it, because we have 14 oocytes with good quality. But if lady has only 1 or 2 oocytes, we sometimes doing evening shifts and wait till the oocyte reach the maturity stage to time the ICSI procedure for optimal phase. So this method is not like used for everybody, because we don't run a GYNEM clinic 24/7. We have some like working hours, but when patient has these like special issues, we can help with these special things, special methods as well. So next thing which we can influence the selection of the embryo for the transfer is this time-lapse embryo monitoring. This is method which somehow like it has two things inside. One thing is that you can imagine this time-lapse embryo monitoring, you can imagine is standard incubator with camera in it. And the camera takes a picture of each embryo. In these time-lapse monitoring systems, the embryos are not cultured together. They are cultured each embryo in a special well, and camera is going under these wells and taking every 10 minutes picture of every embryo. For us, it has 2 qualities. One quality is that we don't need to take these embryos from the incubator out for these 5 days of cultivation. We check their quality by the computer, because the pictures of these from the photographing of the embryos are copied to the computer. So we are doing all these checks via computer, and the embryos are these 5 days still in the conditions how they should be in the body, same temperature, same pressures. In the standard incubation, because the patients are curious how the development is going on, we are taking every morning embryos out, looking on them by microscope, and returning them back. This procedure takes approximately 1 minute, but still in a laboratory we have different temperature, different pressures, different CO2 levels, so it is not optimal for the embryos. And these 5 days of cultivation in the time-lapse monitoring system, it's something which is more optimal for the embryos. So this is one level of quality of this time-lapse. Second level of second quality of this time-lapse is that we have these photos from the embryos, and we can do like movie from these 5 days of development. We can play, we can like put it in an AVI or some MP4, and we play the movie, and we can check how the embryo developed through these 5 days. And then in the end, when you have let's say 4 embryos, 4 blastocysts, which can be transferred or cryopreserved. And usually before these time lapses, we only choose the best looking one, the biggest one for the embryo transfer. But now we are able to see the development of these 4 blastocysts. We can check it, we can put them one below each other and check what was their quality of developing all these 5 days. And we can see that, okay, this embryo was great in the beginning, great in the middle, a little bit slower in the end, and the second embryo was slower beginning, slower in the middle, and it finished a little bit in the end. It was faster in the end. So in the end, it looks a little bit larger than the first one, but from some studies shown that this sooner development is more important for genetical point of view and genetical quality than the later development. So we can decide to choose embryo which we didn't choose before. Like before these time lapses, we always choose the best one, best looking one in this time. But now we are able to see the history of each embryo, and sometimes it give us chance to select embryo which we believe is the best embryo from the whole batch. These other embryos we are not discarding. We are still cryopreserve them, and they are used for another treatment in next cycles if the first one wasn't successful. But of course, this time to take home baby time, it's called. Every couple wants to be pregnant in first cycle optimally. So we are trying to do maximum for the shortening the time of the pregnancy for each couple. And this time lapse can help us in this. There is of course a big part of new techniques in IVF is artificial intelligence. It is in all scientific and all like worldwide things as well. And in embryology, it starts to begin as well. These photos can be checked by artificial intelligence, and regarding on thousands and millions of photos of embryos and these whole movies from different patients from different cycles, this artificial intelligence can advise us what it thinks is the best embryo. It's in the state of art. How it is right now is that the artificial intelligence usually tell us take this embryo number 2, which is the embryo which we chose from our position as well. So now it's not like it is like better than us, but it helps less experienced embryologists to choose which embryo is the best for transfer. And maybe in the future it will be better than every human embryologist in this manner. But now it's like that experienced embryologist is on the level of artificial intelligence. And right now we will see what will be in future. And one of the last techniques, or I believe, last technique, what we are using in GYNEM is some assistance in these embryo transfers. It doesn't matter if it's fresh or frozen. ET stands for embryo transfer. KAT stands for cryo embryo transfer, which means embryo transfer is frozen previously frozen embryo. What we can do are these two things. One thing is laser assisted hatching, which is mechanical disruption by laser of the zona pellucida. I mentioned the zona pellucida before in the Pixie method, in the drilling of the sperm to the oocyte. The zona pellucida is something which is like, you can imagine it is like protective border of the embryo, like outer shield of the embryo. And when the embryo is grown enough to the blastocyst stage, it expands, it grows larger. The zona pellucida breaks somewhere, because the zona pellucida is made from it doesn't matter, but it's like when the press from inside is bigger than it can stand, it just breaks. And then the embryo enter the outer space, where usually hopefully can be the uterus, or should be the uterus, and the embryo should attach to the uterus and begin the pregnancy. Sometimes can happen that the zona pellucida can be somehow irregular, somehow strangely hard, strangely wide, something like that. In these cases, we are recommending patients do this laser assisted hatching. It can help the embryo to get out. On the other hand, I'm always telling patients is how it is with the door. Laser assisted hatching is method where I open the door for the embryo. If the embryo will go through the door or not, it's up to the embryo. It's not nothing which I can somehow influence. I only can open the door. So you can imagine the zona laser assisted hatching as opening the door for the embryo. And then when the embryo is right in genetical point of view and biological point of view, it will grow later, grown further to the opening of the zona pellucida and to the outer space, and hopefully be successful in implantation. Second thing which we can recommend, or like what we can do in the embryo transfers, is this EmbryoGlue medium, or there are more mediums which have the same compound, and it is again this hyaluronic acid. And as I told before, this is quite sticky. The hyaluronic acid is quite sticky, and this is one of the quality of this EmbryoGlue medium, that it should somehow, like, this is called EmbryoGlue, so it should glue the embryo to the uterus, and it should prevent of the some movements of the embryo to the fallopian tubes or to the cervix, which is both not optimal state. And in fallopian tubes there is the extrauterus gravities, and in cervix there will be no gravity at all. So the EmbryoGlue, one level is this thickness, and second level is that it helps to communicate between the embryo and the uterus, the cells of endometrium. And this communication between the embryo and uterus is not really perfectly known right now. The methods for it is quite hard, because you can imagine it, you have to like somehow check what's inside the uterus, between the embryo and uterus in a human body. It's not easy to scientifically research these things, but this EmbryoGlue with some chemical compounds can affect the quality of this implantation, and it helps the implantation. And truth is that in GYNEM, when we count the statistics, every year comes the group with EmbryoGlue medium a little bit better than without it. These 4% is not high difference, big difference, but on the other hand, we are gaining small percent here, small percent there, and in the end it can differ from 35% to 46, let's say. And this is quite change. So we are doing this EmbryoGlue medium is, as I told before, we have this optimized laboratory package in GYNEM, where we want to do maximum we can, and the EmbryoGlue is one of those things which is the maximizing the chances. And the IVF process is all about this, I believe, because when even with the donated oocytes, we have 60% pregnancy rate. With own oocytes, we have 45% pregnancy rate. And so these 55% are not happy after the cycle. And when the patients know that they did maximum for the treatment, maximum what can be done right now in 2024, they are not happy, they are not lucky to be pregnant, they don't need to blame themselves. They know that they did maximum and it didn't happen. Okay, so we will next try it. The next try will be maybe the one. But if patients do some minimal methods and then they are not pregnant, they can always blame themselves. Oh God, if I chose this pre-selection method, maybe we will be pregnant. Or if I choose this EmbryoGlue, maybe we will be pregnant. So this is more psychological things about these add-ons. None of these add-ons will guarantee pregnancy, but it can affect like small percent here, another percent there, another percent there, and in the end it gives us better outcomes. Truly is. When we do the statistics, the couples with this OLP package has better outcomes than couples without it. But the psychological thing is the second important thing, that even the patients who are not successful in the treatment, they are not psychologically so disturbed, because of they know that they did maximum in a last state of art what we can do. So yeah, this is pretty much all from me about this talk about this preselection methods. So thank you for attention. Here are some details on our clinic, some contacts. We will be happy to answer whatever you want to know, or invite you in our clinic and hopefully help you with your cases. And now it's time for the questions.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your thorough explanation to all those add-ons like ICSI, IMSI, Pixie, Max. So there are plenty of those, of course, Time-Lapse, etc. And there are some questions ready. So I just want to remind everyone now we will go for your questions. If we won't be able to answer all of them, we will definitely forward those to the team at GYNEM Clinic. So don't worry, but we will try to answer as many as possible. And we will start with the first question right here. So how do you know an embryo survived the thawing? This is the first question.
Yeah, I will just go through the questions to the top to see it. So basically, after thawing, we can see the quality of the cells. Like we do the thawing in light microscopy, and the cells are looking somehow, and when they are living, they're looking somehow. They have some contrast, some shade, like color, and some part of gray inside them. And experienced embryologists can see in the light microscopy if the cell is living or is somehow degenerating. So then, of course, in the thawing process, there is recommendation to wait 2 hours between the thawing process and the transfer. So even sometimes when we are, let's say, when we saw that some cells are looking strangely, some cells, let's say, looking good, but we don't know if, because in the embryo, we are in GYNEM freezing all embryos in blastocyst stage. In this blastocyst stage, the embryos has approximately 150 cells in the embryoblast and 150 cells in the trophectoderm. And in this phase, when some of these cells are not surviving, because let's say in pgt-a testing, I'm taking some of these cells outside as well. I have to cut them and send them to the genetic lab. So the embryos don't need all of these cells. They are fine when, let's say, 90% of the cells survives the process. They can, like build them again, or like divide more and be fine with these small problems. So sometimes when after thawing, we are not sure if the embryo will develop further or just stops in development. We need these 2 hours to be sure. And when we see after 2 hours that the embryo starts to re-expanding, starts to do some developmental moves, we are definitely sure that the embryo is living, and then it's ready or useful for embryo transfer. When after 2 hours after thawing, the embryo still looks somehow bad and didn't do any approach, any change between the time of the thawing and time of transferring, we don't transfer this embryo, and we thaw another one or do some other things. So yeah, so we can definitely see if the embryo after thawing survived or not.
Okay, thank you so much for this explanation. I think it's pretty clear that it's possible to simply see it. Yeah. So how many blastoses are, statistically, right, are euploid in a 43-year-old?
Yeah, this is tricky question. It depends. In a blastocyst, there is bigger problem to achieve the blastocyst in a 43 years old, because there is big chance that the oocyte will be aneuploid and it will not fertilize at all, or didn't develop into the blastocyst. But once we have the blastocyst already, which is like not every 43 years old patient has blastocyst in every cycle. But when we reach the blastocyst stage and when we do the pgt-a testing, then it is quite like individual. On the other hand, statistically, in 43 years, I can, like, let's say, guess that it could be around 15-20%, something like that. In a younger patients, let's say till the 32 years, 35 years, sometimes it's stated, the quality of the oocytes is pretty much the same. And then after these 32, 35, the aneuploidies are growing, and the quality is going down. And even in these youngest patients, this young group of patients, they have approximately 50% of the blastocyst can be somehow defect. So with the older patient, this is going just down. So if we will guess, let's say 15, 10, 15%, something like that. It's a really individual. Some 43 years patient can have 3 blastocysts and 2 of them can be right, and some can have 6 blastocysts and none of them. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I will skip I will go back to the previous questions as well, but here's the question here from Claire. Would you always recommend PGT-A testing at the age of 40?
It depends. Again, one more thing is the pgt-A testing isn't it has its problems as well. The problems of pgt-A testing is that, as I told before, we have approximately in the blastocyst approximately 150 cells of trophectoderm, 150 cells in an embryoblast, which is the future child, and this is the problem. Nobody will take some cells from the future child because we don't know what it can happen. It can be some developmental errors. Nobody like clear-minded guy, an embryologist will do this. So what we are taking is the trophectodermal cells, but in the human blastocyst and all other cells as well is a process which is known as mosaicism, which means that not every cell in this blastocyst have the same genetic quality. And sometimes can happen that we take some cells from the trophectodermal cells. The genetic information in these cells is bad, but it doesn't mean necessarily that the embryoblast, which is the future child in this one embryo, is bad as well. So this is the main problem of this PGT testing, that sometimes it can give us a result which is negative, which is like bad result, but the truth is that the embryo can be fine, and otherwise as well. We had this case in GYNEM before that we had one embryo which was euploid from the genetic testing, from the trophectodermal cells of this embryo were euploid. Then the lady got pregnant with this embryo. Sorry, but she lost this fetus in, let's say, 10th week. They did the genetic screening of the fetus and they found out it wasn't genetically fine, it was bad. But from our side, the trophectoderm was good. And this is the problem of the PGT testing. Sorry. So regarding the question, I am more recommending, and a second thing is maybe more important. There are processes in a human body, in the blastocyst, in development of blastocyst, which are called self-repairing mechanism. It's quite known how it works in mice, in rats, in different organisms, because there is easy to study them, not ethically in humans, of course, but in all these rats and mice and similar organisms, these self-repairing mechanism works quite a lot. So even if we have embryo which can have some genetic problems, it doesn't really mean that the embryo is not possible to heal itself, repair itself. So regarding the question, when the patient will have in the end one embryo, I'm recommending to transfer it, because regardless on the information we can get from it, the information can be wrong. We don't know. Even if it is wrong and it's like positively wrong, or how to say it, the embryo can repair itself. But when I have the result from the genetic laboratory that the embryo is unemployed, I cannot transfer it. It's like when we know the information, it's hard, like lawly do the transfer at all. It's possible with some risk analysis and stuff, but usually it is not what we are recommending. When patient has one embryo, we are recommending to transfer it. When she has 2 embryos, let's say 2 embryos is on the border, because one is for transfer and one is for the frozen transfer. But when she has 3 embryos, 1 for transfer and 2 for freezing, we are recommending do the PGT testing on these 2 freezing embryos. And if there will be some differences, we will choose for the first embryo transfer of the frozen embryo the one with the better information. But all couples PGT testing is not something which I can really recommend. Usually only the clinics which has their own genetic labs, and therefore they had money from it. They are recommending it because of their money. But we don't have genetic lab in GYNEM. We are just sending to other labs, and we are maybe more like objective in this manner, that we maybe recommend only the things which really are worth of recommendation.
Okay, thank you so much. Definitely not an easy question to answer as well. There are many aspects to it, of course, as well. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for this as well. Let me go to the next question that I will go back to the first question still. So
Yeah.
from Lucy, so can you tell if it's a sperm or egg problem based on what stage the embryos fail?
Yeah, like again, in biology there is nothing like 100% sure, something like that. But what happens in a development of the embryo is that up to the third day of development, to the cell stadium, around 8 cells, the embryo takes all these necessary, let's say, if you can imagine it like building a house. So it takes all these bricks and everything it needs from the oocyte, when the oocyte is the biggest cell, because it is full of bricks. If you can imagine it like this, the oocyte is the biggest cell in the human body, and it is because it is full of bricks. And when the embryo is growing up to the third day, it just takes its own bricks, which was there from the beginning, from the time of oocyte. After these 3 days, all these bricks are used, and the embryo needs to start making its own bricks for the future development. And in this time, the embryo starting to use its own DNA, because the DNA of the bricks of the oocyte was DNA of the mother and of the daughter of the oocyte. But now the embryo has two informations, two part of informations from the mother, from the father. So the DNA of this embryo is new. It didn't make any breaks before. And it can happen that when there is some problem in the sperm DNA, it is not found out till this third day. Just after this starting of expressing own DNA, embryo finds out that it cannot make bricks because it has some mutation in some gene which makes the bricks, and then the embryo can stop in development. And when we see that the embryo is developing well to the third day, and then it somehow go wrong, it is for us evidence that, but not like 100% sure, that there is problem in the sperm. It is like when we have the whole batch of embryos, let's say 10 embryos, and they are all developing well till the third day, and then all of them suddenly start to degenerate. Then it's really something strange, and maybe there can be some mutation in all of the sperm, because all these embryos behave the same. But sometimes, of course, it can happen that the embryo just stops developing, not because the sperm problem, but because of some oocyte problem. But it can be some mutation in gene which are used for the let's say like latest or later phase of development. So it is not like 100% sure. But when the oocyte is not fertilized or develops bad from beginning, you can maybe tell, okay, there should be problem in the oocyte. When the oocyte and the embryo is developing well till the third day, and then it starts degenerating, you can somehow like say that it's maybe in the sperm. But this like assurance and 100% certainty is not there. No, never.
Still no evidence, 100% evidence that it's
Yeah.
actually the case, right? Although you have some
Yeah,
predictions.
you can of course then do the pgt testing, and if you do the pgt testing on the whole embryo, which has to be discarded, of course, in this case, then you can see what was the problems, and you can do it.
Right.
But on the other hand, you can find that, okay, the sperm was bad, and as I told before, we need the sperms to be viable for the fertilization. So we cannot somehow see if the sperm is bad or good before. There is no method, as I told before. So there is nothing which will really help us to the next cycle, even if we will find this.
All right. Thank you so much again. Let's have a look. Next question about Zymot. Can you tell us what Zymot is?
Zymot is this is a company for this microfluidic sperm sorting system. Yeah, it's like different names. Then Zymot bought it, and now Cooper Surgical bought it. So maybe it will have another name in the future.
Thank you for the clarification. I know there are different names for those, so sometimes can be confusing.
Yeah.
And let's have a look. Next question is here. I will show it to you. It's an interesting one as well. You said that you recommend ICSI to everyone. Can it be done on both fresh and frozen eggs? Is it true that there are more male babies born due to ICSI than there are of male babies? So
yeah, for the first question, the ICSI can be done in frozen, in fresh oocytes as well. We are in GYNEM last 2 years using frozen oocytes, maybe in half of cases, half of donated cycles, maybe more. And we have the same fertilization rate, same blastocyst rate with the frozen or fresh oocytes. There is a little bit more rate of degeneration of the oocytes in the thawing process, on the freezing and thawing process, but when they survive the thawing process, then these like quality of these oocytes and these numbers, statistical numbers of their use is the same as the fresh ones. So yeah, the ICSI can be used for the frozen oocytes as well. And to the second question, yeah, there were some studies. I read those as well from big groups. So like in the statistical studies, you always have to check how big was the groups. When the groups is big, then yeah, there were some studies which shown that there was a little bit, but the difference was like a small percentage. It was like 51% and 49 or something like that. It was not like 60-40.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe on the other hand, there can be some other thing, not maybe just the ICSI, which can influence this. It is always hard to tell in these like big statistic studies, but yeah, some studies are out. They are quite long ago out, and they stated this issue. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for the clarification here as well. All right, let's have a look. So as some clinics charge extra fees for that technique if deciding to perform pgt-a, all the eventual embryos for patients 40 plus does time lapse really still need to is needed, I guess, maximize the chances? Does it maximize the chances or make sense? Is it advisable?
Yeah, I will read it one more time.
Yeah, that's why I showed this to you.
Some cases the charge extra fees for techniques if deciding, but yeah, like does Time-Lapse really still need it? Yeah, this is what we do in GYNEM as well, and I will explain why. It is I need, when I do the pgt-a testing, I talked a little bit about it before. I need to embryo to get out from the zona pellucida to do the process as safe as possible for the embryo. There are many more ways how you can suck the cells from the zona pellucida, from the embryo, and cut them and put it to the genetic lab. But I found that the embryos are behaving the best when I am doing the pgt-a testing, the biopsy itself, when the embryo is on the way out. Let's say when you have like this big blastocyst, and on the end it's this extrusion part of the blastocyst which goes out from the zona pellucida, and when you suck those cells which goes to the extra space and cut them, the embryo sometimes don't even figure it was cutted. Sometimes it behaves like it wasn't done at all to the embryo. Sometimes the embryo really, like I believe, is the safest way for the embryo. And to know when is the best time for this procedure, I'm putting the embryos in the time lapse. I'm connecting to the time lapse from my home. I'm living in Prague as well. I have 15 minutes the way to the work. And sometimes I am doing these biopsies, let's say at 11 in the evening, at 5 in the morning. It depends on how many embryos patient have. If she have more embryos, you can somehow timing the biopsies. But sometimes you know that this is like, you know, like older patient with one embryo which we all try to have many months before, and you want to do everything as safe as possible for the embryo. And in this procedure, the time of the biopsy really is important. And for me, I don't have any other option how to see the embryo when it is in an incubator in work. And because I'm not living in work, I'm living at my home. So this is option for me how I can see if the time is correct. And then I go, let's say I put babies to the bed, and I go to work and do the biopsy. So yeah, this is why we at GYNEM use the time lapses for biopsies for PGT-A patients. And we are, because the time lapse, the dish for time lapse costs many times more than dish to the normal incubator. And the time lapse incubator costs many times more than the normal incubator. We have to like count it somehow, so we have extra payment for time lapse as well. And when it's not included in the package, and when the patient has PGT-A testing, they wanted just like not pre-selection methods, not nothing else, just this biopsy, I need to count them the time lapse as well.
Okay, crystal clear. Again, thank you so much for your explanation. Makes sense. Again, of course, thank you. All right, so what is the worst case scenario in oocyte morphology before ICSI, and how you handle CER oocyte if they are the only one available for the patient?
Yeah, like worst case scenario is like the morphology is nothing which is like 0, 1. It is like, you know, like whole batch between 0 and 100%. Let's say when the quality is 100% is the best and 0 is the worst. So there are many irregularities on the oocytes. There can be debris in the perivitelian space, which is the space between the zona pellucida and the oocyte. There can be some shape irregularities, some granulation in cytoplasm, some vacuoles. There can be this SER, these certs, SERC, which is like the vacuoles filled with fluid. It's from endoplasmatic reticulum, some like outer part of endoplasmatic reticulums, smooth endoplasmatic reticulum cluster. It's called. In the beginning, when these smooth endoplasmatic reticulum clusters were seen in the oocytes, the first recommendation from WHO was that we shouldn't fertilize them at all. Then was made some casuistic that healthy babies were born after the ICSI of these oocytes. So we are now doing the fertilization of those oocytes normally when we have them. We are, of course, not in a donated oocyte cycle. When we are taking the donated oocytes, we are taking on only the good quality oocytes. The wrong are discarded. But when we do the treatment with own oocytes, then we are not taking anything out. We are using everything we can, and even these smooth endoplasmatic reticulum cluster oocytes are used for fertilization. And sometimes we have blastocysts from them as well, and sometimes we are transferring them because we don't have any better embryos to transfer. So yeah, we can use them as well.
Okay. And I believe there are 2 more questions that we will answer. Short one. This one is: have you considered Magenta for oocyte quality scores? Are you familiar with
Magenta? I'm not sure. I have to check it. If maybe I know it from another word. So let me just try to put it in a web. Sometimes these called.
Sure, there are different names, obviously. Sometimes.
Yeah, this is some artificial intelligence. Yeah. So yeah, as I told before, this artificial intelligence things is developing or like growing in our field as well. A little problem with this is that in a Czech, as I told before, the Czech has quite good laws for all methods, but regarding the artificial intelligence, there is one problem that these intelligences has to have CE mark for medical device and class 2A. and this is something which they have to when I want to use them, I need to have an artificial intelligence with this medical device classification, and I don't know if this Magenta have it. I know that it has only the one from the AIDA score from Vitrolife, and there is not many not many artificial intelligence with this quality of medical device certification. So and on the other hand, I'm not sure, because I'm now doing one project as well. I'm part of some scientific project regarding the artificial intelligence, and we are quite deep into the research what can be done right now. And I know, and I tried some of those intelligence as well at my lab. Some of these intelligence are not in the phase where you believe that the result is really truth. I have to check this Magenta. I didn't check this one especially. There are plenty of them right now, but I know that on Czech market it's a little bit problematic. And on the other hand, even if they will have this certification of medical device, I'm not sure that some of those have the quality which we need to be sure that the result which they give us are really truthworthy.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah, there are plenty of those, but still we need to kind of check them before we can actually use them on daily basis. All right, as I mentioned, probably our final question for today. Of course, there were some more questions. As I mentioned, I will forward them because there were questions on PRP, probiotics. So I think it's better to simply forward this to the team at GYNEM. And let's have a look. So the question is, so do you work and do procedures, egg collection, embryo transfer during the weekends, because UK clinics don't?
I worked in 3 laboratories in Czech Republic, and one of them did also egg collection on Sunday. The other 2, one when I'm working right now in the GYNEM, and the second one as well, we do the egg collections in the weekend only on Saturdays. On Sundays, the doctors are quite they have this possibility to switch the stimulation one day sooner or one day older, depending on the reaction of the patients. Truth is that sometimes maybe the Sunday will be the optimal phase for the oocyte pickup. I'm not a gynecologist. I'm not doing the stimulations, but on the other hand, one can be fine when some days don't need to go to work as well. But of course, like we are going on Sundays to the work as well, because we are doing freezing and biopsies. We are in the lab, 8 people in the GYNEM normally during the week, and on the weekend we are there only 2 or 3 regarding on the number of patients, and on Sunday usually just 1. But so we are working on Sundays as well, and every Saturday we are working every Saturday on GYNEM.
All right, busy. Thank you so much for the clarification. I think it's also important. So thank you so much for that question, and for all of your questions. For those, for the questions that we haven't answered, as I mentioned, those will be forwarded to the team, and they will be able to get back to you with some more details. Tomáš Rieger was our special guest today. Thank you so much. Lovely presentation, lots of details, of course, we provided, and today it was a great session, lots of details once again. So thank you so much. Any final words before we finish for today?
Thank you very much, and for your attention. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much indeed, everyone. As always, please remember we will be back on Tuesday at 7 p.m. London time. You can go to our website, myIVFenses. You'll find all the details right there. And again, thank you so much, Tomáš. Lovely to have you. I'm really looking forward to some more events. Have a lovely evening, everyone. Take care.
Have a nice evening.
Bye.
Bye-bye.